Imagine waking up to international headlines saying the US Congress wants Nigeria to abolish Sharia law.
That radical Muslims want to bring Sharia to the United States.
Sharia law is bad, Seth. I don't know if you've heard that. It's bad. It's worse than what's happening in New York and Detroit. It's just bad.
Not reform it, not regulate it, remove it entirely. But here's the question nobody seems to be asking. If Nigeria is a sovereign nation with its own constitution, why would American lawmakers even consider such a demand?
U.S. legislators have convened yet another in a series of congressional investigations into what they have consistently tagged targeted and unchecked violence against Christians in Nigeria. At a joint briefing of the United States Congress, lawmakers and expert witnesses firmly rejected claims that the killings and mass displacement in Nigeria are driven by resource disputes. Instead, they warned that extremist groups are exploiting religious laws and enforcement bodies operating in northern Nigeria, deepening what they describe as a growing campaign of persecution. U.S. congressmen were urged to pressure the Nigerian government to abolish Sharia criminal codes in the 12 northern states where they have been implemented and to disband the Hisbah religious police.
Is this an attack on Nigeria's sovereignty, or is there something buried deep in Nigeria's constitutional structure and recent events that has triggered international alarm? Well, we are going to break this down.
What's the deal with Sharia law?
Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that.
But many scholars believe Sharia law encourages domestic violence against women.
Threat posed by Islamists who are spreading Sharia law into Texas.
From the origin of Sharia in the Nigerian constitution, its actual legal power in northern states, the impact on non-Muslims, and the controversial Deborah Samuel case that shocked the world. By the end of this video, you will have to decide for yourself. Should Sharia law remain in Nigeria or should it be removed? Recently, a briefing in the United States Congress called for pressure on Nigeria to declare Sharia law unconstitutional and dismantle religious enforcement bodies like Hisbah in northern states. Witnesses told lawmakers that Islamist groups, extremist militias, and religious enforcement structures were allegedly contributing to systematic religious persecution, particularly against Christians and minorities. The proposal specifically targeted the 12 northern states that adopted full Sharia criminal codes since the year 2000. But here is where things become complicated, because Sharia law is not illegal in Nigeria. In fact, it is written into the Nigerian constitution itself. Nigeria operates one of the most complex legal systems in the world. 3 legal systems exist simultaneously. Number 1, common law, British colonial system. Number 2, customary law, traditional ethnic systems. And number 3, Sharia law, Islamic legal system. The 1999 Nigerian Constitution explicitly provides for Sharia courts of appeal in several sections, including provisions that allow Islamic law to govern personal matters such as marriage, inheritance, and family disputes among Muslims. Originally, Sharia courts were limited to civil matters between Muslims, but beginning in 1999 to 2000, several northern states expanded Sharia into criminal law, creating punishment under Islamic codes. Today, 12 northern states operate Sharia criminal systems. This created a dual legal reality. In one part of Nigeria, you may be judged by secular law. In another, you may be judged by religious law. In some states like Kano, special religious police, known as Hisbah, enforce moral codes under Sharia law. For example, alcohol bans, dress regulations, restrictions on certain entertainment. These religious police bodies are officially tasked with enforcing Sharia only among Muslims, not non-Muslims. But critics argue that in practice, the influence of Sharia often spills beyond Muslims. And this is where the controversy begins. Supporters of Sharia law in Nigeria make several key arguments. Number 1, religious freedom. Nigeria's constitution guarantees freedom of religion. Muslims argue that practicing Islamic law in their communities is simply an extension of religious liberty. Number 2, federalism. Nigeria is a federation. States are allowed to significant autonomy. Supporters say if northern states democratically choose Sharia, that is part of their constitutional right. And number 3, cultural identity. For many Muslims in northern Nigeria, Sharia is not just law, it is a way of life. Removing it, they argue, would amount to imposing Western secularism on Islamic communities. Critics raise a different set of concerns. They argue that Nigeria's constitution also states Nigeria shall not adopt any state religion. So the question becomes, if a state enforces religious criminal law, does that violate Nigeria's secular principle? Human rights organizations also point to blasphemy prosecutions, religious mob violence, unequal legal protections as evidence that the system may undermine constitutional equality. One of the most disturbing examples of this debate is the case of Deborah Samuel.
In Sokoto, one student of the Shehu Shagari College of Education was killed as many embittered students protested what they called a hold on their lives. No official statement has been released by school authorities, but the school has been shut down indefinitely to curtail escalation of the crisis as the school authority beefed up security personnel on the campus.
The president has reacted to that statement which was issued earlier, condemning the action.
In May 2022, a Christian student named Deborah Samuel Yakubu was accused of blasphemy at her college in Sokoto State. What happened next shocked Nigeria and the world. A mob of fellow students dragged her out of a security room, stoned her, and burned her body. The incident was filmed and spread across social media. 2 suspects were arrested, but here is where the controversy deepened. They were not charged with murder. Instead, they were charged with incitement and disturbance, offenses carrying relatively minor penalties. Eventually, the suspects were acquitted and released after prosecution lawyers failed to appear in court.
Should Sharia law have applied to Deborah in this instance? Because the argument is, for some people, it's not the existence of Sharia law, it's the latitude of Sharia law beyond Muslims.
To critics, this case symbolized something troubling, a perception that religious sensitivity sometimes overrides criminal justice. Cases like Deborah's have increasingly drawn international attention. In the United States, lawmakers and religious freedom groups argue that blasphemy laws, religious vigilant violence, and weak prosecutions are evidence of systemic persecution. This is one reason why US policymakers have pushed Nigeria to address religious violence and reconsider Sharia criminal codes. But many Nigerians strongly reject this pressure. They see it as foreign interference in Nigeria's internal legal system. So the real issue is not simply Sharia itself. The deeper question is this: can 2 fundamentally different legal systems coexist in one country, a secular constitution and a religious criminal law? Critics argue this creates legal inequality. Supporters argue it reflects Nigeria's cultural diversity, and the Nigerian constitution itself leaves this tension unresolved. So now the question returns to you: should Nigeria preserve Sharia as part of religious freedom or remove it to ensure a single secular legal system? Is US pressure a defense of human rights or an intrusion into Nigeria's sovereignty? The answer may determine not just Nigeria's legal future, but the future of religious coexistence in Africa's most populous nation. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Should Sharia law remain in Nigeria or be removed from the constitution? And if you want deeper geopolitical analysis like this, subscribe and turn on notification, because sometimes the most important political questions are the ones no one wants to ask. Frank Adams, Eagles TV.